자, 계속해서 오전에
So please continue to take interest in those sessions.
Let's move on to the next session. The second session's topic is a digital platform government where state-of-the-art technologies are combined with intelligence data. So with the participation of experts from home and abroad, we are going to discuss many strategies and best practices. So let me invite our panelists as well as the moderator. Our moderator for this session is Professor Seok-jin from the SNU Graduate School of Public Administration, and Ms. Lava Maranan, Deputy Director of British Ministry of Justice, and the Carmen Rar, Estonia Digital Advisor, and Mr. Lee Jae-myung, Head of the Government Digital Platform Commission of the Republic of Korea. Please welcome them. Please be seated. Once they are seated, I'll hand over my mic to the moderator. So you can take off your mask. Let me start the second panel discussion. Even though we are a bit behind schedule, we are going to run this session very fast. That way we can ensure your lunchtime. Let me introduce myself. I am Professor Seok-jin from the Seoul National University Graduate School of Public Administration. It's very nice to see you. Currently, I am involved in research on digital government, innovation, future government, data governance, and data policy in college, and also give lectures to my students about those topics. Second session is about a digital platform government where state-of-the-art technologies are combined with data. So information and technology and its advancements impact not only the private sector, but also the Korean government and other governments as well. So in order to deliver better services for the public, we need to embrace and adopt digital transformation. So digital transformation is a hot topic across the globe. So I'm very looking forward to listening to many different cases from home and abroad and what kind of challenges you experienced. So hopefully we can engage in heated discussions about these topics. For today's discussion in this session, we have invited prominent experts from home and abroad. Let me introduce each and every one of them. Mr. Lavanan from the British Ministry of Justice. Next. Mr. Lavanan is working as a deputy director for video, audiovisual, and other services under the Ministry of Justice. So cybersecurity, digital transformation are one of his expertise areas. Second panelist, Ms. Carmen Lar. Ms. Lar is an advisor to Estonia. She's an expert in public digitalization. So for national and subnational governments, she's providing advisory services. Digital governance, cybersecurity, and digital health are the areas of her expertise. Third panelist, I think he's one of the busiest people in the Korean government, Mr. Lee Jae-myung, the head of the Digital Government Platform Commission. Mr. Lee joined the Ministry of Telecommunication in 1992, and he was involved in major IT policies and policy making in Korea, software, artificial intelligence and all IT-related policies were crafted by his hands. He is such a prominent expert in this field. Despite your busy schedule, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here today. Let's dive into main discussions. First question is directed to all three of you. In each country, AI, blockchain is utilized. So what is the current status in your government in terms of using AI and blockchain, and what are the goals and directions of those policies?
Thank you. So the landscape have significantly changed. So people or citizens and businesses, they expect the government digital services to be seamless and have a better user experience. So same as they experience in an online shopping or a banking app. This is why the UK government have introduced the government digital services back in 2011. So digital transformation is not just about changing the paper-based process into some form of digitalized online websites or deploying devices. It's all about how we deliver end-to-end services for the people, for the citizens who consume government services. So AI and blockchain has been a big part, and we have other emerging technologies has been utilized in the digital transformation within the government. So we have come across a long way in the last decade. So we have our one-stop digital platform, which is the gov.uk, and which has hosted so many applications online utilizing the multi-cloud platform, and departments are actively investing in cutting-edge technologies. So I think about 5 years ago, UK Land Registry had the digital streets using the blockchain, and we have the digital backbone, which is kind of a shared infrastructure utilized for multi-domain integration using the zero trust architecture model. Within my team in Ministry of Justice, we are deploying zero trust principles throughout our network infrastructure, which kind of host multi-domain like prisoner-facing services or staff-facing services, which not just cost-saving, but also providing a more secure, reliable environment. And as a government, we are committed to utilize full of AI. So we have the AI strategy published, and also we have invested more than 2.3 billion since 2014, and we are continuing to investing and planning in long-term AI ambitions. Most importantly, within the digital transformation or the digital government, we have launched our digital data strategy this year, which is by the CDDO office, or Chief Digital and Data Office. And the ambition is to increase the user experience, give a better user experience for all the users, or all the citizens or businesses we have, but also how can we improve? We will be continuing to improve the user journeys, and all of our services we design are user-centric services, and so we have to exceed the public expectations. The second key is the building the talent within the civil service. So this is upskilling civil servants and capabilities within the civil service. And interconnect government, so we, rather than duplicating services in the silo manner, we are continuing to incorporate digital services into a single platform, and GDS is not just providing technical platforms, but also providing technical standards and centralized standards for the departments. And finally, we will encourage innovation. Innovation is the key part of the modern technology. So we will be a factory of innovation. So by 2025, the aim is to achieve where we will provide services much easier for the users, citizens, or businesses who want to use government services as a one-stop for all the services. And the number of times people have to rekey data again and again will reduce, and we will be kind of a one interface for a single government. Thank you.
In Estonia, we've managed to take care of many problems already. We have a strong electronic identity that is widely used and allows people to access both public and private sector services online. Additionally, we don't have any data silos anymore. Plus, we have a very extensive public-private partnership, which was already born in the 90s. So through this partnership, we've managed to create a very flourishing business environment. So Estonia has the most amount of startups per capita in the world. But right now, even though we've come so far, we are in the midst of completely changing the way people interact with the state or use public sector services. So right now, we are quite open about having so much big data, but our problem is that we're not using this data to its fullest benefits. So it allows us to make knowledge-based decisions. It can be great for entrepreneurs looking for new business opportunities or scientists. So we're moving towards making as much data as possible open, and through this data we are creating proactive government services, meaning that if we in the state have the data that indicates that a person or business is eligible to receive any type of support, then they don't have to find the service will find them. So some proactive services already work. One example, if a child is born in Estonia, the doctor will register the birth of the baby, and now the child gets its unique personal code that will be connected to the parents. And that's already enough data for the state to indicate that a family is eligible to receive family support. And nowadays, the new parents, they don't have to go anywhere, apply for anything. They will get a message congratulating them on having a baby and asking them to verify which bank account they want to get the money. So very simple. Most people want the service. They have the legal right to get it. So why are we making it difficult on them plus on the civil servants also? Another thing, talking about future, first of all, blockchain is not innovation in our public sector anymore. Estonia was the first country to implement blockchain technology on a national level, and we've used it since the year of 2008. But right now, we're very extensively moving towards creating our own virtual assistant. It's called Bureaucrat, and basically, you can compare it to Siri or Alexa. So you can, in the future, use your voice to communicate with the state. It's not just keeping up with the trends, but this will also make public sector services accessible to people with different disabilities. And these are our values. We want to be as accessible as possible. And maybe one more thing to add here is that technology can allow us to implement personalized approaches on a very wide scale. So right now we are, for example, creating a personalized learning path for children. Why are all children learning the same way if they have different skills and different learning styles and so on? And technology can help us in that way. So very soon we will make sure that every child can learn the way that's best for them. Additionally, we're working on personalized medicine. We've talked about genome, and it can be dangerous if it's used in a bad way. But right now, we're using genome data to implement personalized medicine, meaning that we don't react to medication the same way. We can tell if people are genetically prone to get different cancers. So we want to make this all available to people who want to have this information available to them. So very simply, so we could redefine the relationship that people have with their health. Right now, it's very common to turn to doctors if you already have a problem, but it's always cheaper to focus on the prevention than the treatment. So this allows us to keep our solidarity-based healthcare alive. these are just a few things coming up in the future in Estonia.
Thank you.
네, 디지털 플랫폼 정부 추진단 단장을 맡고 있는 유재명.
I am Liu Jae-myung, head of the Presidential Committee on Digital Implementation. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here. Using information technology and data and digital platform government. This was created as directly under the president. These are the questions that we need to address. In our commission, Korea has advanced digital technology, and in the public administration area, for the past 50 years, digital technology has been enabler of Korean economy. With every turn of the history, the Korean government actively introduced digital technology, improving efficiency in the administration, serving the public. So in that regard, for the past 50 years, the digital government history has been successful, I think. The UN and OECD are trying to emulate our digital capabilities. Then, amid such situation, why the digital platform government we are embracing? What are we going to do with this? The development of digital technology, I think, has changed, and it's a new era. The Korean government has been outstanding in operating digital technologies. However, this has been an excellent system. However, the AI and big data, the new digital technologies, are they fully utilized in our government? I don't think so. There are challenges and limitations. We would like to the central government and local governments and public agencies are actively introducing AI technologies such as Busan and many other local bodies. And using AI, they are providing care call services for the elderly and also disaster management and security management or the airport clearance. These AI technologies are actively being used. And currently, the advancement of existing technology is also important, but going beyond that, the potential of the digital technology should be fully utilized in a new way. So from that perspective, we have created this Presidential Committee on Digital Platform Government, and this has been one of the government's tasks. So digital technology has been the main driver, and we would like to escalate this into a new level. And up to now, we have used digital technologies in a silo style, each department on their own. So from the public's perspective, they do not have any transparency in data flow and how which system is fed into which system and things like that. So we have bumped into limitations in using the existing technology. And as You mentioned the examples of Estonia and Great Britain. The government is the sole distributor or provider of information, but there is also limitation in this pandemic situation. The full potential of these technology should be realized. So, under that perception, the government would like to create or build proper government, and we are not the main initiator. We will ask the private sector to be the main player in this course. So the government system should be redesigned. The government roles and how we operate the systems should be revamped from entirely. So that is the rationale behind creating this commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The three countries are actively utilizing information technology, but each panelist had a different focus. So I could see a mosaic of the digital derives by many different countries in the world. So despite such a successful adoption of digital technology, digital innovation doesn't happen naturally. There are many challenges and barriers you need to address. I'm sure our panelists who are here have a lot to say about this. I'm sure you're had experienced already some difficulties in promoting digital government. Did you experience any difficulties or limitations? Would you please just pick one and elaborate on that? Thank you.
So the challenges we have is no different to any public or private sector organization or complex enterprise organization. It's a similar challenges. Tech debt is the first one. So we are held by outdated and costly technologies. So we inherited year by year, and some of the system goes back to 25, 30 years old, still running in legacy technology. So the legacy technology actually limit us to respond to changes. So that's the first one, I would say. And the second one is for example, within the UK government, Ministry of Justice is one department, and we are complex. So Ministry of Justice on its own provide about 800 user services to the users. We are about 90,000 staff, over 1,100 officers. So the complexity is there because we have multiple IT systems, shadow ITs within the same departments, and they are siloed. The data is in different places and not integrated. So that's another one. And recruitment was a challenge to get the specialist DDAT or digital data and technology specialist into the civil service. And we are competing against the big enterprises like Amazon, Microsoft to get people. So that was another challenge. And the funding mechanism and budgeting funding or the commercial procurement of services is not meant for agile methodology. So we kind of budgeted in April for the rest of the year. So that's another challenge. So how do we make the funding into that? And the ways of working is another interesting thing. So we spoke about earlier discussion. So the policy, operations, and digital don't work close enough. So the policy is made and then pushed into the digital teams to digitalize it. So that's one of the other challenges. So some of the things we done in the recent or up to a decade is we are trying to simplify the IT infrastructure. And now we understand more about our infrastructure. It's easier to simplify them. So what we are doing is kind of containerizing it, using as a modulars where they can be reusable rather than just building things in silos. So this is using microservices and APIs, opening up the architecture and making system that it can interoperate with other systems. So enterprise architecture plays a big part in this. And in terms of getting the talent, we are targeting on culture and the environment for people to work. So this is where we are more competitive to the enterprises rather than the pay itself. So we provide a culture, a rich culture working within a civil service, and it's important that the working environment provides that. And one of the things we do is we have costed plans ready to go, and when additional funding is available, so we kind of utilize them for innovation and R&D mechanisms. So, and I spoke about the ways of working. So within Ministry of Justice, we have a digital team, which is the Office for Public Guardian. They have built up, they work slightly different from other digital teams. So they build up a multidisciplinary team with policy, operations, and digital teams. They work closely together from the beginning by creating that digital policy, the policy which it can be digitalized from a user-centric point of view. So that kind of works well, and that's the model we are trying to implement throughout. So the challenges are there, but we are not constrained many of them. But one other thing, we were talking about AI here primarily, but so one of it's not a challenge, it's a slightly constraint in terms of we have laws and regulation which constrain some of the automated utilizing the AI stuff. Yeah, thank you.
I think that Estonia has a very unique beginning when it comes to digitalization. We started digitalizing in the 90s already, and that was primarily because for us it was a necessity. We lacked many resources, and digitalization helped us out with all of those problems. But now when I work together with my colleagues from different countries, what I see is the biggest problem is that there is this lack of digital-minded leadership. You cannot digitalize public sector services if you have political opposition or if your higher-level civil servants are opposing to it. So first of all, you have to get everybody on board. You have to talk why you're doing it, and you have to look the future in the face and recognize, can you maintain your current system the way it is? Because people keep demanding more services, better services, and so on. And digitalization helps us with all of those problems. And maybe the second thing I would like to bring out quickly is that patience is a virtue. Especially when I think this is the biggest difference between public sector employees and politicians is that I can focus more towards the further future, whereas politicians, they need quick results. But with those things like the interoperability tool we have or the electronic ID and so on, although they were implemented in 2001 and 2002 already, there were early adopters, but these solutions came or became widely used maybe in 5-6 years or something like that. So you need to be very patient with these things and understand that it doesn't happen overnight. I think these are the key things I would like to bring out.
네, 이제 디지털 정부 혁신에서 이제 가장
One of the limitations in the digital innovation at the government level, I think what you have pointed out are all applicable to the Korean situation. Digital technologies are need from a totally different approach. The existing IT people, users, are in conflict with the current government move. There are digital platform will also reduce barriers among different departments. However, within existing departments, they have their own domain and their own interests. I think these are barriers. So that will take time for the new technology to be fully effective. Another point is that the main players of the government innovation are public officials, and these public servants are not that familiar with the new technology. So they lack capabilities. So it's another lagging point for government development. So these are also limitations. So as there are many new digital technologies introduced because of the barriers and existing limitations, what is most important is the leadership. And leadership within the government and in the society, and they should have a common understanding to solve this problem.
The three panelists highlighted the challenges faced by respective government. Some are technological problems, some are political problems, and since government itself is an organization, so there is a problem faced as an organization. So it is never easy to address all these challenges. So in order to forming a consensus and leadership support, they are required and imperative. Let me ask another question. Mr. Liu, Digital Platform Government Committee was launched recently. The electronic government and informatization strategies. So the committee is making a differentiated approach from the existing digitalization efforts. So are there any specific tasks or directions that you are moving forward in terms of the committee? The Presidential Digital Platform Committee was launched on September 2nd. So we now have committee members and we have 6 subcommittees. So we plan to run these 6 subcommittees. So we are trying to include experts for each subcommittee. We are working on it right now. So hopefully by the first quarter of next year, our committee will be operating in full swing. That way, we can present a roadmap, a specific roadmap for running a digital government. The president directed us to come up with digital government or digital platform initiative, and the Presidential Inauguration Committee also let us know what they want. So we will further develop our plans. But when it comes to digital platform government, so we need to look at some concept. Digital platform government. Each term has its own meaning. Digital platform government needs a digital technology that is not just about computerization or digitalization of administrative services. So digital transformation should be ensured and achieved across all public services. And when it comes to platform government, this is quite new concept. As was mentioned earlier, the government system, and there are ministries. So we have a system, and each ministry has its own system. So its specific system is quite effective for the public. But whichever window you access, the government should be able to use, the public should be able to use all kinds of services. It's like one-stop system. That way, all the ministries and governments need to create a platform where ministries can work together and collaborate together. And now I'm talking about capacity of the private sector. Masks and vaccines, they were developed in collaboration with the private sector. So we have experience in solving problems quickly in collaboration with the private sector. So we are trying to harness the private sector's innovative capacity. So we are trying to establish a private public partnership platform. So we are trying to be reborn as a public-private partnership-based platform. So the government used to be a sole provider of data. So it has been monopolizing information, but we are trying to change ourselves. So the government invites all the businesses and civilian developers into collaboration. So the way the government works will be changing. So in that direction, we are moving towards a digital economy or a digital government platform. So about the specific agenda, we are going to further discuss at the committee level.
에스토니아의 엑스로우드는
In the digital area, the Estonia's model is a very famous system. What was your goal and direction to have achieved such remarkable progress? And in the course, what were the hidden problems that was not well known to the public?
As I mentioned at the beginning, we started digitalizing out of necessity. So in 91, when Estonia regained its independence back, we faced a lot of corruption, distrust from the public, especially towards the state institutions, and lack of resources. And there's a unique fourth problem. Estonia is a very tiny country, but our population size is even tinier. So just 1.3 million people, which actually means that we have quite a lot of space in Estonia. We have a lot of small centers, rural areas. Half of Estonia is covered by forests. So there was this situation when politicians and civil servants, they saw that we cannot really build up all the public sector buildings or have so many public sector employees in every small center because we would simply go bankrupt. This is why digitalization was necessity to us. It was not something that we wanted to implement out of curiosity. But nowadays, of course, our values have changed. In that way, it's not just to address lack of resources, it's to create a very human-centric society. And maybe one more thing that helped us, because here I hear a lot about the struggles with competing over intelligent people with the private sector or creating the solutions all alone in the public sector. Luckily, in Estonia, this public-private partnership was born in the 90s already. So we have this unique society where the public sector does not have to compete with the private sector. Additionally, the strategy in Estonia, yes, is created centrally, but we are open to input from both academia and the private sector. But when it comes to the solution creation, then it's mostly done by the private sector. And actually, this is why, for example, the Estonian ICT companies, they're so credible and well-known around the world, because this public-private partnership has benefited both sides, the public sector, but also the private sector, because they get to work on very unique problems that you don't maybe find that often in the private sector. But of course, I think that, again, I have to come back to this communication side. Previously, I actually used to work as a caseworker. And there we have a very digitalized platforms. We're using machine learning and so on. And one thing that I missed very much was communication side. So why are we using it? I understood why, but at the beginning, with every new technology, it oftentimes takes time for the civil servants to train the ML or AI tool, because the AI is as smart or as good as the data it's learning from. So this meant that we have had to go over all the data, give feedback and so on. And it wasn't really well communicated as to why I was doing it at the moment. Of course, now I realize and I understand that in the future it will help us to focus more on human-to-human interactions. But at the beginning it requires more work, especially for the street-level bureaucrats. Another thing we've learned is that the bigger the gap between decision makers and end users, the more likely you're going to have a service that won't be used. So you have to be in constant communication to realize and understand what are the needs and what problems we have to solve. Main things I would like to bring out.
감사합니다. 네, 나바 씨.
Thank you. Mr. Lar, in the British digital government, I think it's very effective, and among departments and agencies, data sharing has been really facilitated, and it was highly regarded and evaluated by the world. So such a high level of data sharing was promoted by your government. What was the rationale behind it, and what's the key to success? In promoting such strategy, were there any unexpected challenges you experienced?
So I think, to be fair, UK has already made a significant process in terms of digital transformation, and we want to go further and faster. And I think the UK started with several advantages. I mean, the critical building blocks like the super-fast broadband throughout the UK or cybersecurity capabilities has been already there or is being built at the moment. And we also have a firm footprint on emerging technologies like artificial intelligence or quantum computing or advanced semiconductor design. I think this is, again, partnership with private sectors and Naval ICE is same across the board, what we see. So we now have one login for multiple government services by multiple departments. Again, data sharing plays a bigger part. The National Digital Twin Program is creating national ecosystem of connected digital twins. We have HMRC, which is blockchain for the supply chains and also the taxation completely online. Home Office, Future Border and Immigration System, which provide end-to-end service for immigration. So I think there are a lot more. But data sharing, data has played a crucial part in that. And with COVID-19, when it hits, we was able to bring services online within weeks. And the reason is because the data points were already there. And I think one of the great examples is, within Ministry of Justice, we have deployed laptops or technology into prison cells where prisoners can utilize for education content, accessing transaction services, and so on. So in terms of challenges, I think, so we have clear guidelines around the data protection laws and data sharing, and where artificial intelligence cannot be utilized in every single opportunity when it comes to personal data. So that was one of the challenges. But we, other than that, we use artificial intelligence in terms of analyzing the mission metrics, machine learning in terms of the actual platforms itself. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다. 플로어에서 혹시 패널들께 질문 있으시면
we'd like to ask the audience to ask questions to the panelists. Are there any questions? If any, would you please state your name and ask your question?
그러면 온라인을 통해서 온 질문을 먼저 받고
We'll first then receive questions via online and then receive questions from the audience. What's the difference between existing system and online platform? And for successful implementation, what kind of governance is needed?
Earlier, we were talking about why new digital platform government was proposed. I think I partially addressed this question earlier. In analogy, digital platform government is different from electronic government. So it can be compared to the internal combustion car and the automated or electrical car. So internal combustion cars have been advanced at a high level. But now there is a completely new approach to mobility. So the consumers can have completely different experience and they can have completely new potential. That's why we are vastly transitioning to automated electrical car era. So right now, in the current digital environment, how the government can design the digital environment, this will determine the level of quality of public services that will be delivered to the public. So we should go beyond the barriers and boundaries of each different department and ministry. So the government provides integrated services to the public, and the public will enjoy those services. The public and private partnership is important. And the government's participation in the private sector is being done in a different way. The mask reservation app, vaccine reservation apps, they are not just the unique one-time examples. They should be utilized at all time. And all these services and information resources should be fully utilized to create new economic values. And we need to create new space where such values are created. So we are making a completely different approach from that of the electronic government we pursued in the past.
So, regarding digital platform government governance, do you have any comments regarding this?
I think maybe just to go a bit further from the platform thing, something I would like to address is that I see that the gap between the private sector and public sector, they're getting bigger and bigger. So the public sector is lacking behind. And the reason behind it is I feel like many countries, they feel like they have to constantly reinvent the tool. When we're talking about interoperability solutions, AI pieces, and so on. And that's something that we are trying to break in Estonia. So this, we're trying to break the wheel in that sense. If we're talking about our interoperability tool, the X-Road, it's an open source solution. And most public sector solutions in Estonia, they're open sourced. And many countries have so far taken over our X-Road. And it's also a unique form of international cooperation because together, Finland, Iceland, and Estonia formed something called the Nordic Institute for Interoperability Solutions. Basically, it's an NGO where 3 countries together take care of the maintenance of the X-Road and make sure that it's up to the highest standards all the time. So, and Estonia and Finland are in the future planning to combine their AI solutions and so on. And on the EU level, we're making sure that the data doesn't stay behind the borders with us. So it would travel constantly with us. First of all, for the convenience, but second of all, it could also be life-saving.
Thank you. Yeah, I think from my opinion, digital transformation is really successful when you have the business side supportive. So in our cases, it's policymakers or ministers, and that's when that digital transformation will become successful. But also data sharing is a key part, and as mentioned, cross-border data sharing, this is where, we have the ethics frameworks and within the UK, and also we need to be on the right side ethically, morally, and legally, what we can share and what we can't, and we need to get the trust from the citizens. Thank you.
네. 여러 가지 또 질문 드릴 것도 많고 또
Of course, there are many questions to raise, and there are many success stories that we would like to hear. But unfortunately, we have time constraints. However, I think it's time to wrap up this session. I wish that the year 2022 will become a year for intergovernmental cooperation and making this year as a starting point to flourish digital platform government and international collaboration in this front. Furthermore, on top of our three countries, developing countries are also keenly interested in this area. So together with them, we could become a better government in the entire world. Finally, I'd like to extend my thanks to Mr. Navaramanan and Carmen Rao. Would you please give them a big round of applause? Thank you. Also, big hand for Mr. Liu. This has been the second session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Through many different cases from home and abroad, we looked into the strategies to form a digital platform government. Since you are very hungry, I'm aware, we are going to close the morning session. After lunch, we are going to resume at 1:40. Originally, it was planned to resume at 1:30, but we are going to reconvene at 1:40. So as was mentioned in the booklet, in the afternoon session, the founders will make a presentation about 5 forces that change everything. So this is also the title of the book he authored. It was a very interesting book. So his presentation will feature many cutting-edge technologies. So it will be a great opportunity to listen to an excellent presentation. So once we finish all the sessions, we are going to draw lots to give away gifts. So there's a high percentage of winning. So please participate and stay with us until the end of the event. And I'll see you again at 1:40. Thank you.